This weekend, Virginia International Raceway and the Sports Car Club of America combined to form a mecca for lovers of sports car racing. Almost 500 drivers in over 20 classes will do battle in a race for the gold. Since 1964, SCCA has been crowning national champions at its annual runoffs, the peak of the Summit Racing Equipment SCCA road racing program. For the second straight year, welcome to the track that Paul Newman once called Heaven on Earth, for the historic 60th annual SCCA Runoffs. An absolutely beautiful morning has dawned here at one of the most beautiful racetracks in North America, Virginia International Raceway, as it is time for our third and final Haggerty Race Day of the 60th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs here at VIR. Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Creamer, and welcome. I am joined by Tom O'Gorman, and down in the pits is Hayward Wagner. And as we kick this race off today, it will be for the B-Spec, Run to the Gold, the SCCA National Championship. And to kick off our coverage here, presented by Mazda, let's get right down to Hayward.
Good morning, guys. Sunday morning at the runoffs is an even mix of I hope this can last forever, and it absolutely has to end at some point in time, and I hope it's soon. B-Spec is going to kick us off this morning. The story is going to be the temperature, the tires, and the fact that these guys have not been on track since Thursday. They've been sitting for 2 days watching and waiting for their moment. And what I'm seeing this morning on the B-Spec grid, look, these cars are pretty straightforward, right? More or less stock engines, a lot of stock components. These aren't high-strung formula cars. They don't require assistance to get them started. But this is still one of the fullest grids that we have of any of the races, and that is because this has become a family. This was a class that maybe 5-6 years ago, 8-9 cars on the grid. Now you can see the variety of cars. You can see the number of people here supporting. They're not here because the cars need support. They're here to support their drivers. These are families. These are friends. These are kids and parents driving and supporting each other. We've got a youngster on the pole, and what I am told by these guys is that the front row is going to work together, the second row is going to work together, maybe one car from the third row and the fourth row are going to work together, and then after that, everybody's trying to pair up based on what happens on the first lap. You guys have seen this in other forms of racing, in stock car racing, where cars are faster as pairs than singles. Absolutely true here in B-Spec. Everyone's going to be looking for a dance partner, and this race will come down to who can dance with somebody without losing momentum and build speed down the straightaways.
All right, thank you very much, Hayward. And yeah, absolutely spot on. Tomo, you've won 2 Pirelli World Challenge Championships, one of them in this category. You're very familiar with it. And before we get in too much further into that story, let's bring up our Mazda track map because exactly what Hayward was talking about, Tomo, on these long straights and some of these runs, these cars absolutely have to work together.
Yeah, this track is probably 80% flat out in the B-Spec cars, making just over 100 horsepower on average, so that those long straightaways become so critical, and that's why teamwork is more important. But yes, good morning, Greg. Down into turn 1 on our track map, that's a great passing opportunity, and you'll see some choreography there, and then you just got to get through 3, 4, 5, 6 without any mistakes. They're flat out from turn 4 to turn 11 nearly down at Oak Tree, so all of those little wiggles just flat out and steer in the B-Spec cars, but a critical exit at the Oak Tree corner at turn 12 onto another very long straightaway where we're looking in the background up into a really kind of super late braking zone in the B-Spec car at 13, 14 for roller coaster, down the hill at 15, through hog pen at 16 and 17, and the cars again flat out from 16 to 1. That's a very long pull in a B-Spec car.
Yeah, and there you see that final sequence of corners down the roller coaster. This last turn is what they call the hog pen, and you got to get a great run out of there. And the interesting thing, you might think, okay, I can draft in these cars all the way up through those climbing S's, make a big move up into Oak Tree, but then you're going to definitely be slow coming out, maybe lose the draft. And if you lose touch with a couple of guys that are working well together, it's really going to be problematic, isn't it?
Yeah, this class has become it's become a fan favorite a bit, and it's definitely been rallied around and grown amongst the competitors, but it's been proven at VIR that it does take a teammate to work together and be successful, at least the last couple of years. Other tracks we visited, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Road America, not even Road America, really not quite as extreme an example as VIR.
And that says a lot, doesn't it? All right, we got a big field, 25 cars anticipated to take the green. Let's take you through it here. Starting on the 13th row in the 25th spot, making his 12th runoff start, the 36 of Joe McLuhan. We know he's fast. For some reason, he's back in that field just a little bit. Starting in the 12th row, it'll be starting 24th, the rookie, the 51 of Richard Osborne. Then starting in the 23rd spot, making his second runoff start, the number 86 of Anthony Ruddy. Starting in the 22nd spot, his fourth runoff start for the number 3 of J.B. Swan. Starting in the 21st spot, his third runoff start for the 07 of George Badger. Starting in the 20th spot, his 8th runoff start, the 05 of Steve Strickland. Starting in the 19th spot, his 4th runoff start for the number 7 of Matt Wolf. Starting in the 18th spot, his 10th runoff start for the 28 of Jared Lendrum, has already run here once this weekend. Starting in the 17th spot, making his second runoff start, the number 10, the son of one of the all-time great drivers in runoffs competition, Chris Doherty. Starting in the 16th spot, making his 29th runoff start, the number 85 is Peter Zeckett, our former gold medalist in GT Light category. Starting in the 15th spot, a rookie, the 38 of Clayton Condrey. Starting in the 14th spot, his second runoff start for the number 8 of Luke Russell. Starting in the 13th spot, the number 87, making his second runoff start, Blair Diffenbach. Starting in the 12th spot, a rookie to the runoffs, the 79 of Brandon Lewis. Starting in the 11th spot, fourth runoff start for the number 40, Stuart Black. Starting in the 10th spot, a rookie, the 24 of Trenton Kramer. Starting in the 9th spot, the number 46, making his fourth runoff start, Chris Taylor. Starting in the 8th spot and the 7th spot, a pair of rookies. In the 8th spot, the number 34 of Clay Keel. In the 7th spot, the 19 of Josh Schmidt. In that 6th starting spot, outside of row 3, the number 16 of Frank Schwartz. We're going to talk about him in just a minute. And starting inside of that 3rd row, his 26th runoff start, an 11-time gold medalist across all classes, the 01 of David Daugherty. We'll chat about him as well. Front 2 rows, starting in the 4th spot on the outside, the number 2 of Richard Hromin. And starting on the inside, last year's champion, the defending champion, the number 12 of Steve Introne. He was also on pole last year. But your front row will be the number 14, making his 4th runoff start, Conner Kelleher out of Angleton, Texas. And on the pole, very talented young driver, making his 8th runoff start, the number 22 of Riley Salyer out of Longview, Texas. And that is your starting lineup. And just to put a little period on how intense and close this racing is, the margin of victory, folks, last year in not great conditions was 78 one-thousandths of a second. That's how cool this class is. And we heard, Tomo, Hayward talking about maybe one person in that 3rd row. Well, it's going to be interesting there because you were telling me before we got going that one of the guys in that row, he has no interest in having friends. He's here to race, and if that means messing things up, he's fine with it. And the other guy doesn't think he needs any friends. He said, car's fast enough.
Yeah, I don't know which one Hayward was talking about. So Daugherty does not have a plan to find somebody. He believes his car can run by itself, but he knows how to race it. He knows where he needs to be as far as pace goes, but he doesn't have a plan for a teammate. Frank Schwartz, on the other hand, doesn't believe in doing a teammate. He's like, if they want to push me, that's great, but I came to the runoffs to race. I'm going to race them. I don't want to do this whole choreography thing. So that is the Mini Clubman. It's a wagon. It's apparently, a number of the drivers joked that it's kind of like Spaceballs, you know, the ship that takes forever to pass. That's the problem with that car. So yeah, I don't know which in the 3rd row, but again, it's the front row, the 2nd row, planning on working together. This will be interesting.
All right, here we go. Leading him to the green is the guy who got his first ever Tire Rack Pole Award, that white Mini, Riley Salyer, and this field, 15 laps, the run for the gold in B-Spec, and we are waiting to set this one off. We're green! And looks like it is actually Conner Kelleher that got a little bit better jump and moves up and rounds things up here. And that's going to be interesting to see what unfolds here. And here comes this pack down into turn 1. And actually, it looks like Salyer was the one opted for that outside spot. And it is going to be Conner Kelleher, though. No, off at the very start. That is the number 12. That is your defending champion, Tomo.
I thought it was. That is disaster. Steve Introne drops off the track, and a big spin for Stuart Black. I was going to say it's a very dewy morning coming across the field, and there looks like they're mostly going to avoid.
Oh, boy,
wow.
boy.
Very, very well done, everybody.
Yeah, some amazing evasive driving. If there was any contact, it was a slight graze. And so this continues here. And you said it, you know, it's a beautiful sun-drenched morning, but it's dewy. The track has that little bit of dampness to it. And these guys are going to have to deal with this here as we hop on board one of the cars here and just love this run here through the snake. And that would be the 85 Peter Zeckert on the Cameron Performance Engineering driving that machine here. And Zeckert, a former gold medalist long time ago in GTL, but he's got experience.
So these cars not modified very much, which means you have to do some creative engineering to make them turn, make them handle something like 50 PSI in the rear at some points. Looks like Stuart Black thinks either there's an issue with the car or decided to pull off. That's driver's right coming into turn 4 as that car is just stationary off up against the tires. Jump on board with Peter Zeckert for this start and see what this field evading Stuart Black's spin looks like.
Well, this should be interesting because the evasive that was going on, you can see right there, so many. It was amazing how they managed to sneak through there. And obviously, whatever, maybe something caused that spin, maybe something broke. But now, here comes Richard Hromin coming up, that number 11 that you're talking about kind of a cool-looking little car, isn't it? As he comes up, it's sort of roadster-looking in a way, and splits now the guys who started on the front row. Kelleher, then Hromin, then pole sitter Riley Salyer.
What's the quote in boxing? It's you can have a plan until you get punched in the face. Well, Hromin got punched in the face a little. He had a plan to work with Steve Introne, and now he lost his teammate. So he's got to just kind of adapt to the situation. We knew that Salyer and in the red Mazda 2 and Kelleher in the white Mini in the lead were planning on working together. It looks like Hromin is going to try to break them apart and push Kelleher away from Salyer. Keep an eye on David Daugherty in the blue Ford Fiesta behind. Lastly, I believe I misidentified the Sonic that spun. That probably is Josh Schmidt in the Sonic, not Stuart Black.
All right, and yeah, Daugherty up from 5th to 4th. Another car running wide down in there. May have been, looked like it was maybe back in the 7th, 8th range. Chris Taylor, maybe Blair Diffenbach, one of those guys. Whoa, big wiggle for your leader, Conner Kelleher. Cars behind scattering as well, the 34 of Clay Keel. And big off there. Wow, that car went a long ways in that damp, dewy grass.
Yeah.
And boy, I'm kind of curious as to what's unfolding there, Tomo.
Well, and that corner is under stationary yellow, so that's not going to fly very well with the stewards or the flaggers. They really should have been a little more checked up there. Potentially some fluid on track maybe interfering with that because that was a little more chaotic than we'd expect these top-level drivers coming into a corner on the car.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And, even though this class, is one of the, and I use this very advisedly in lower-level introductory classes, it's also a destination for a lot of people who just love driving B-Spec cars, and there's some real talent in this field, to be sure. And they just generally tend to run in packs. But obviously, we were talking about it up front. You can see, Hromin with that intent. If he can just get somebody to go with a break, and I was waiting for it. And we do have a full course caution. You can see the double yellows out there. You can see the flag stations trying to give the drivers a little bit of instruction. Slow it down here. And we are under a full course yellow. And look here, kind of deep in the field right there for the 07 of George Badger, trying to bring his car around. But yeah, really intriguing as to what may have happened in that incident over there, because that car went off at a significant pace, and as you said, in a yellow zone.
And the only reason I speculate maybe some surface issues is because we do have that Sonic of Josh Schmidt, we believe, the 19 car, having pulled off. He lost control and pulled off. There's clearly a mechanical with that car. So a bit of mystery in B-Spec, but we're going to go to full course for a little bit, hopefully just a quick tow. But a hard impact for Clay Keel at turn 4, just in front of where that car was stranded.
And you rarely in this category see any mechanical issues because these aren't highly stressed cars and they just run. But it happens, and I almost wonder if maybe he didn't, have a lunch of motor or something and drop some stuff on the track, because it's in that same area where all this. And we saw your leader at the time, Conner Kelleher, in the number 14, have that, just suddenly the car snapped on them, and so there well might be something down on that surface.
So before the yellow came out, we did have a swap for the lead. Rich Hromin, who I owe a formal apology to. I called him Ronin all last year on the broadcast. Rich Hromin went to the lead. And yeah, I wasn't that surprised to see the 14 of Kelleher have that big rotation. If we rewind back to Hogpen, that car also looks, it looked really, really loose, which means it's probably going to race really great in about 5 or 6 laps, but it's a bit of a handful right now. So to have other cars have an issue in the same corner, though, that's where we get the indication there's something up.
Absolutely. So that's all going to be sussed out here. And so we are under an early caution here in the run for the gold in B-Spec. So we're going to take this opportunity to give you a little bit of information about some of the fabulous partners that you absolutely have to have an event of the stature of the 60th running of the SCCA Runoffs.
Okay, so pretend this is your race car. It's on the trailer, and you have an accident. Ouch! At least your truck's insurance will pay for another one? Yeah, not so fast. Standard insurance won't replace your race car, whether it's in the trailer, in the paddock, in the garage, or the repair shop. But at Hagerty, we can protect it for what it's really worth anytime it's off the track. No matter what or where you race, offer less than a set of race tires. Hagerty, let's drive together.
A car like this shouldn't exist. Something this big, this luxurious, shouldn't move like a Mazda. And yet, it does.
Oh my God, it sounds epic as well. This car is an SUV with bragging rights.
The 3-row Mazda CX-90.
Welcome back, everybody. Caution continues here after the off by Clay Keel. And we continue to proceed underneath the control of one of the beautiful pace cars here. We have a few of them here, and they have been provided by both Mazda and Sport Durst Mazda in Durham, North Carolina. We very much appreciate that. And a couple of guys here early in this one, Tomo, we have an award called the Sunoco Hard Charger Award that have had great opening 2 laps. One of them is David Daugherty's son, Chris. We were talking about Chris, who started in the 17th spot. He's up into 11th, but better still, the guy who started with Chris Daugherty on that road, Jared Lendrum, started at 18th. He's up into 10th. So in only 2 laps has made up 8 spots. And you hate to see any kind of caution, especially when it involves an incident. However, for those guys, now this field gets bunched up, and suddenly what looked like maybe a really long day here becomes a much more enticing and competitive one for them.
Yeah, another car I'll shout out to is Blair Deffenbaugh. Started 13th up to 8th. And he was, 7th. He was at the front of a pack that had definitely been broken free from. That was going to be just a long day in 7th, as you mentioned, until this caution comes out. B-Spec, the slowest cars here at the runoffs, which means that they're up against a time limit almost in a perfect scenario. They were going to take about 36 or 37 minutes to complete this 40-minute time-limited race. With a caution, we're going to immediately go probably to the time limit. Right now we have 31 minutes of racing left, but I do not believe we're going to get 15 laps.
Yeah, it doesn't appear it. And you were talking about Blair Diffenbach. He was last year's Sunoco Hard Charger, so he has shown a real ability to be able to work his way through the field. And I just want to point out, folks, make no mistake here that just because this is, and it's a fact, one of the slower classes that's here, it doesn't mean they're not driving at an absolutely 11/10 level, maybe even more so because it's all momentum in these cars. And I've said, I don't care where your goal is to end up, to hop in and jump into a big high horsepower car for first thing, big mistake. You want to be in one of these. You want to be in a spec racer. You want to be in a class that has low power for its weight and learn to drive momentum, because that is a major tool in your toolbox for the rest of your career.
And it's not only momentum, but it's really about what the car accommodates. And a B-Spec car doesn't accommodate a whole lot. It's an open differential. They're tall. They're very mildly modified. They don't do a whole lot for the driver.
Yep.
Meaning meaning the driver has to do everything. And I came from this category very early on in my road racing career. I think I learned a lot that I would never have learned in any other class, not only about momentum and racecraft, but about understanding the chances and the risks that I could take, because this car, and all these drivers understand this, these cars don't, not only do they not accommodate the driver a whole lot if you make a mistake, but they also don't recover very quickly from those mistakes.
Exactly.
Which means you have these massive consequences for low risk and small choices that you make, which means the details become very, very, very important.
Yeah, and when you've got a low horsepower car and you lose that momentum, you carry that deficit all the way to the next braking zone. So it's so crucial to be super smooth and just have tons of mid-corner roll speed. As I said, under caution for an incident. We get a report that the driver is out and okay. That's so good to hear. But let's take a look at it once again. You're watching the background.
And that really started at turn 3 before.
Yep.
We're speculating there was some surface issue at turn 3 as a number of cars indicated there's low grip. Maybe just in the shade, maybe just cold, we're not sure yet. But that car off on the outside of turn 3 in the dewy grass, there was no deceleration at all as he just took a ride all the way to the outside wall at turn 4. So that is, we're hearing again the driver out of the car and hopefully cleaned up, potentially green this lap. Hopefully, I'm fingers crossed.
Yeah, this it's a long lap here, some 3.25 miles. So hopefully they'll be able to get everything taken care of there, and we can get back to racing. And as you said, very much so at this point going to be a timed event. But we still, if they can get us to green here, we'll have 26 minutes or so of racing. So let's hope that's what plays out.
Yeah, a lot of time left to race for sure, and it's going to be an interesting one because again, Rich Hromin in the lead, but lost his teammate in turn 1. Steve Introne, however, is that teammate he was hoping to work with. Now back with the field under this full course condition. Then we have the 2 drivers who plan to work together, the 14 right there and the 22, the white and red cars in second and third, Kelleher, Salyer, Daugherty, and Schwartz. This thing is kind of turned left from what they hoped.
Yeah, it really, really has here. And it's going to make it an absolutely fascinating run. Here's another angle on that incident. There you see that big moment there. And then there he goes. And he just cannot seem to get it woe down and just straight off. And it's because the grass here is damp. And we do get clarification. We're going green this time, so good. We're going to get plenty of racing to go. And what's really got me intrigued here is Frank Schwartz won that. It's such a different-looking Mini, kind of like the exact opposite of Hromin's, that Clubman. And he's the one who was feisty and said, "I'm gonna race whoever I'm around. I'm not playing any of these partnering games. I'm here to race." And he sits in 5th, right behind the winningest driver ever in an awful lot of categories here, David Daugherty.
Hromin kind of saying that car is a bit of a draft monster. It's hard to draft from behind, but it drafts everything really well. On the flip side, Frank Schwartz with that wagon, everything drafts off that car super well, but it does seem to race really well as well.
You can see there's just not much of a footprint of any kind with that little number 11 Mini Cooper up front, and that is Richard Hromin, and he is leading us now back to racing here and getting us going again about 26.5 minutes as we're green, and Hromin gets a nice go, but look at Daugherty. Fabulous restart. Out to the outside. Remember, as soon as it goes green, the track is green. Is Daugherty going to make it into the lead from his 4th place spot? He knows that this track's still a little damp. And I think right there he said, yep, not quite going to be able to do it. Oh, and a big moment there. Cars spinning everywhere. I think that was the 87 at Diffenbach. Got caught out by it. And that was Frank Schwartz as well. And looks like some pretty good damage there to Diffenbach's car.
Yeah, bent rear axle on the 87. That's heartbreaking for one of the locals. But Schwartz got loose somehow.
Yeah.
Ended up kind of tank slapping back across the field. As you can still see the rear grip on these cars very, very low. But if you go back and look in turn 1, David Daugherty pointed to say, "I'm not going to take this. Slot in line. I'm going to get into second." He knew what he was doing with that, but he basically kind of gave Hromin a little bit of a gap with trying to get slotted back in front of Kelleher and Salyer.
And I also think, he's got so much experience, Tomo, that he realized grip's not there to try and do this complete outside move, and so got himself back in line. And so it was pretty crazy here. Let's take another look at it and watch the inside of that blue car. Look for that point that Tomo was alluding to. He comes up there and goes, yep, it's not really going to play here. There it is.
And with a marked restart zone, everybody knows where the restart's going to happen for the most part, but we can't really see where Schwartz got sideways, but he was already tank slapped the other direction, and unfortunately Deffenbaugh had no indication anything was going wrong. He was just on the outside trying to work together with the cars behind. Very, very tight stuff, rubbing doors for a Fiesta and a Fit. That's the number 8 at least.
Working his way up the field, yeah, Luke Russell. And and that's the thing I love about this class is, you could be, dueling it out for 20, and it is absolutely fierce, intense racing that's going on as we hop on board with Peter Zeckert, and he is on that blue Honda Fit, the Cameron Performance car right now. And again, a lot of experience over the runoffs. Ooh, a little bang there as they're getting after it. This is his 29th runoff start, so that kind of experience, especially in these sort of little misty, damp conditions, is invaluable.
Yeah, Zeckert wins the game of chicken there, but they're going to lose touch with Brandon Lewis, who's in that Gulf liveried Ford Fiesta just ahead, and that's where we talk about the choices you make are critical in B-Spec. Do you want to go side by side down the roller coaster? Well, you're going to lose the car in front. For that, as the number 3 comes up behind to now bump draft, that's JB Swan. Give those Zeckert's Fit a little bit of a push.
Yep, just everywhere you go. I mean, you've got to play that game here, don't you? That's the only thing you can do. As you see the 12 of Steve Introne, who at the restart was back in, I think it was 22nd at his recovery. He's trying to work his way up to the front now, but a long way to go through a very big field here, as now he's coming up and trying to work his way through on Clayton Condrey, the number 38 there of the North State Synthetics B&D Automotive machine here. And there's Schwartz now trying to recover as he makes the turn in here as these guys continue to go at it. It's Hromin, Daugherty, and Kelleher right now in the medal positions. And you can see that Hromin and Daugherty, they have eked away. It's not a lot, but in this class, anything is huge.
So rewinding to qualifying, Salyer pushed Kelleher the entire week.
Yep.
But Salyer ended up with the pole just a little bit quicker in the Mazda 2. Daugherty is going to be savvy enough to know if he just kind of helps Hromin get away, they're going to make it a 2-horse race, and then it's mano-y-mano. The hard part, though, is that Mini Coupe of Hromin in the lead is very difficult to draft. And you can see the Fiesta does not seem very strong through Oak Tree. It comes alive on the straightaway.
Yeah, and it was interesting, too, to watch, Daugherty's line there. He was a much tighter turn-in and then sort of diamonded the corner just a little bit. But, boy, look at it. He just drove away from Kelleher and Salyer there, and now catches a minimal little draft, but just pulls up alongside, and he's going to lead Hromin. And Hromin now fights back and has position, and Hromin was just not going to let that happen. And Hromin, little slide there, and hangs on to it.
Wow, yeah, he really wants to be in the front of this race. Daugherty doesn't seem to want it too bad. He's willing to take it. He clearly pulled out, but then backed her down and let Hromin get through there. Also, Trenton Kramer in the background. If these guys shuffle enough, he's going to get brought into this, up from 10th into 5th, out of the same camp as Frank Schwartz.
And you can see that Daugherty went for it, but he did not really fight at all. And it was pretty clear that Daugherty's pretty confident with the straight line speed of that car. Here he just sort of feints over to dissuade the number 14 of Kelleher from trying anything. And Hromin using a big wide arc through turn 1 here and actually finds himself with a couple of car lengths here as they start to set up for turn number 3 here. And just a great fight through this corner. And Daugherty happened to be our Hawk Performance Breakthrough winner. And that is anybody, it's awarded on Wednesday, and the first day of qualifying is Tuesday. And anybody who makes the biggest gain from Tuesday times to Wednesday times gets that Hawk Performance Breakthrough winner. And it's a nice contingency, some funds, and some product from the folks at Hawk Break. And that went to Daugherty. All right, here we go. Love watching these cars up through these climbing S's. They're the speed. Look at Daugherty showing the nose, trying to get into Hromin's mirrors and then maybe into his head. And Hromin at this point having absolutely none of it. Here's that treacherous turn 10. And you've got to get all the way to that exit curb. And one of the reasons these 4 are up where they are right now is they use. But watch this. Let's see if Daugherty does that earlier. Little bit tighter, doesn't he? Which to me means he doesn't roll maybe quite as much exit speed.
Yeah, I'm trying to get into the head of these drivers. I can tell Hromin wants to be in front. Daugherty seems to be kind of stalling. He just doesn't seem to be maximizing the full potential of that car just yet. And we see him adding distance to the S's. We see him shortening the distance in Oak Tree, the places where you'd usually make different choices than Daugherty is doing. I think, again, that driver is, for lack of a better term, stalling in second place. Kelleher and Salyer just seem to be pushing as best they can to cling on. As we take a look back a little further in the field, Seckert running 12th behind, that should be Brandon Lewis's Ford Fiesta, who's going to pull alongside Chris Daugherty in the newer fit.
And then you can see the braking and heading down in to this roller coaster. Gives you an idea a little bit here, right there, that elevation drop, and you are falling off the face of the hill here, and this run down through the roller coaster. And we're going to get now, and look at that, driving through a couple of windshields. Here's that turn, and you got to get that compression right and get that those tires loaded up to get max grip and be able to really flow through there. Another guy who's having a great race is Matt Wolff, started in the 19th spot, now up into the 8th as we go back to this battle. And I was going to ask you, were talking about David Daugherty maybe stalling a little bit. Is it right now he's purposely driving lines that maybe aren't the fastest because he doesn't want to show everything he's got yet?
That's all I can figure. I think he knows he doesn't necessarily need the lead just yet, but I can't figure out if he's trying to drop Kelleher and Salyer back by pushing them behind, by driving a little bit slower than he could, or if he's just killing time there. But there's a look at Matt Wolff in the number 7. Had a pretty heavy off in qualifying, had to do a lot of repairs. You see that car with a different hood on it, et cetera, et cetera. And was able to make it back out. And overall, B-Spec had a pretty disjointed week of qualifying with an incident in every session throughout the week. So Matt Wolff, one of those incidents, of course, is now another impact into the outside of turn 3.
That's the 0-5, I think. That is Steve Strickland, and I didn't catch the number of the other car there. But that was a pretty significant hit. And while we were watching that, Daugherty has gone to the lead. And boy, this could be precipitous and fortuitous timing for him to have grabbed the lead. If we get a caution again, that is going to be absolutely huge for Daugherty. And a couple more cars off and in the damp, misty grass here. It looks like maybe the 79 of Brandon Lewis there in that sort of Gulf livery, old Wire Automotive colors car. And we were watching too, behind Trent Kramer, we saw Stuart Black on this last lap that we just started thinking about a move into left hook on Chris Taylor with Matt Wolff watching here. And good news to see that Steve Strickland able to get that car moved on his own. And you can see the dejection there for Brandon Lewis in that Proton Group Maximum Attack Ford Fiesta. And we go back to some of this battling. And here's that battle I was talking about. Chris Taylor managing to keep Stuart Black behind him here.
Look at that, the Sonic just jacked the rear tire on turn in. It's very soft up front. But yeah, the other car involved with that turn 3 incident was the 51, the Nissan Versa of Rich Osborne. But great to see that those cars can seemingly pull out of harm's way. And then it also looked like the 79 with a mechanical issue, just kind of pulling off far right in the S's. I don't know how else he would have ended up there.
Let's see what happens here. There's the first off, and it looked like he did it all on his own. And got up there, and we were able to see him. You can see the 51 you were talking about of Osborne drive off, and it looked like the 0-5. Even if he couldn't continue, he could at least back it into somewhere safe. So maybe we get to continue this one. And I'm sure Daugherty would like to win it under green, but boy, did he find the right time to make a move. And at this stage now, he's looking like he's fairly comfortable up front, but Hromin's certainly not letting him get away.
Fastest car the previous lap was Trenton Kramer from 5th, but David Daugherty just reset the fast lap of the race from the lead. But I'll remind you, Rich Hromin said that car's a draft monster. If I have anybody in front of me, I can stay with them.
Yeah, like I said, it's such a little profile there. You know, it's tough to get a toe off it, but it's going to be able to tow beautifully. But I'm really interested here in this guy, Trenton Kramer, seeing what kind of deficit he can make up at this stage with, what, 15, almost 16 minutes to go. He's certainly putting in some solid laps here, but they're going to have to see whether it's enough to actually make this a 5-car battle for the lead.
No, this driver did comp school this year. It's only his 8th race weekend or 9th race weekend. And it's newer to, Trenton is newer to on-track competition, but I was talking to him over this week, and he basically said, I got this travel job, and I didn't know what to do with my time. I was getting paid pretty well, so I went to the kart track. I would kart, and I would kart, and I would kart dozens of times a week. get my seat time, a sim racer, and then again comp school this year with Frank Schwartz kind of helps him with the cars, and he's here running top 5 at the runoffs. It's a pretty good performance.
That's amazing. Yeah, certainly a rookie here, and qualified 10th and has worked his way up into 5th and had to get through some pretty significant carnage to do it. So obviously he's got some pretty good track awareness here. And now Daugherty down that straight opens up a little margin, but look how much ground Hromin makes up. And that's not just brake accordion stuff. That was actually going in really deep.
Yeah, he kind of missed the apex a bit. He's going to pay the consequences of going down the hill. That's where those B-Spec cars, they don't recover exactly how you'd want them to. Hromin is kind of clinging on to Daugherty for dear life, but that Fiesta looks to have the straight line handling of this pack.
Yeah, as our friend Dorsey Schrader used to say, that thing's handling real well on the straights right now. And, that's what you want, especially when you've got this long, long run to the checkered flag out of Hogpen. Having a car that's got pace to outrun them if you're in the lead and maybe be able to make that pass move if you're not. And Hromin, looking outside, looking inside, that car looks really, really good here in the twisty bits and trying to do something here. And, Daugherty is so savvy, Tomo. He just doesn't leave many openings.
Yeah, a common theme here at VIR, if you have the straight line speed, you're very, very difficult to beat. We've seen that many classes so far this runoffs. So Hromin's in a very difficult position where he is the faster car anytime they're turning the steering wheel, except for this dig off of the snake. Daugherty is definitely with the upper hand here as they continue to run just nose to tail 4 in a row.
And here's the number 8. That is Luke Russell. We've seen him out there and in the wars a few times here, currently running in the 13th spot. And he is our Sunoco 260 Tuesday winner. And it's another fun sort of promotion for Sunoco and its 260 fuel. On Tuesday, whichever driver in Tuesday qualifying in each class, after the dot in their time, if it was the closest to 260, you got a nice little contingency package and some fuel from Sunoco, and that went to the number 8 of Luke Russell. And hear those spinning them up here as they jump on the throttle trying to get out of there. And now we go back to this battle. And Chris Taylor is finally, for him, been able to open up just a little bit of breathing room back to Stuart Black.
In the 46, we're taking a look at that throwback. That's Days of Thunder, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Sure looked like it.
And Chris runs a bunch of cars out of Texas. He's just one of the prep shop guys that a lot of drivers go to. Happy to see that he's out competing for himself. And B-Spec has had a spec tire, actually, for the last couple of years. Hankook supplying that spec tire. This is the last year for that. The contract is up, and all the drivers have really enjoyed the tire. So they're a little sad to see it go, but they're also happy that Goodyear's been announced as the new spec tire for B-Spec.
Okay.
Just kind of wanted to do a little shout out and thanks to Hankook for supplying what has been a very accepted and very compelling spec tire.
Oh yeah, it's been racy, and that's been really fun. I was about to say when you mentioned the Days of Thunder livery that go fast, you've got special tires, you can do it, but it's a spec class, they're all on the same tire, so we can't play that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to commit career suicide here and say I haven't seen Days of Thunder, so I appreciate the insight.
Oh yeah, no problem. Look at that, little bit of communication from Peter Zeckert. Trying to figure out a way. And the guy who's come up behind him, remember I said at the restart after that caution was 22nd, is the number 12 of your defending champion. And look at this, Hromin, beautiful run to the inside. Let's see if he's able to make it work. Daugherty is going to square up and thought about going straight line, still thinking about it, but really couldn't get it done. And that may have been almost more of a defense on Kelleher trying to do something. But Introne, what a move by Hromin through those S's, Tomo.
Yeah, and Kelleher and Salyer made a bid for that second place, and I think it's still enough. They're still in contact with Hromin, but it was almost disaster for the 3 starting racing for the wrong position. They're not ready to race for second. They want to race for first, as we do still have 11 minutes on the clock. It's going to be right up against the time limit, but we may still get all of the laps.
Absolutely, this would be really exceptional. And once they've now got the line in. The sun has been able to work on this track a little bit, and it's drying up. Boy, I'll tell you, right through there, it didn't look like Kelleher carried as much speed as he should have down through turn 10. And we have a new driver in the 6th spot, Stuart Black. After Taylor had opened up that little margin, Stuart Black has found a way through and now jumps up into 6th. That puts Taylor into 7th. Taylor under attack from Matt Wolf. Behind Wolf is the 10 of Chris Daugherty, and behind him is Peter Zeckert. Behind them, the defending champ Introne. So this is a great little battle, about to become a 6-car scrap here for that 6th spot.
Yeah, this is awesome. I love these little packs where they don't necessarily have the plan. They're just drivers that ended up having to race together, and that's my favorite part.
Yeah.
But I think if we have a couple of laps left, Steve Introne may be able to glom onto this pack here and race his way all the way back to 6th. That would be okay. Not where he wanted to be. But Stuart Black, again, leading Chris Taylor, made that move. And Matt Wolf with a great redemption drive in the number 7 in the middle of that pack. Another driver with a great redemption drive, Chris Daugherty in the blue Fit, had a really scary incident, ended up actually rolling over in qualifying, wrote off the car that he was intending to compete in, got this backup Fit, and he's having a pretty good drive right now.
Yeah, he's doing a really, really nice job out there. Man, is it fun to watch Stuart Black in that red Chevy Sonic turning into the roller coaster and that inside unloaded rear tire. You know, oftentimes they're off the ground a little bit. That's got to be a foot in the air when he cranks it in there. He softened that setup pretty good, thinking that, you know, this morning might be a little dewy and damp, and it's paying off for him.
Reminds me of the old showroom stock C days with the neons. As a kid, I'd watch, and they're all
exactly
barely on 2 wheels or 3 wheels.
Oh, look at this, side by side. And that was interesting there as watching that outside move, and he might make it work here, but he was so close to having that car just sort of ease him off the track. And 46 Chris Taylor stayed with it, and Stuart Black gave him just enough room. But look at Matt Wolf now diving down the inside into left hook, and just not going to be enough, and had to back out of it. And that might actually give Stuart Black and that red number 40 that little bit of a gap here, and that's exactly how it played out.
Yeah, Chris Daugherty is going to give him a good shove from behind as Wolf goes. Knifes under in turn 3, but it doesn't end up paying off. Still Hromin at the point. Daugherty not going by on the front straight up at the front, so we're going to continue watching this 6th place battle that's burning hot here.
And it is that, and now with Chris Taylor back out front, then the 40 of Stuart Black, Wolf, Daugherty, and there's Zeckert. And look at that, all of that little bit of exchanging has indeed brought Introne right to this. So we now have a 6-car train here going for that 6th spot. And the problem is, in front of the 6th spot, it's 10 seconds up the road to Trenton Kramer. So these guys, this is just, right now, they're in their own personal little race. And doesn't, you know, they're going to absolutely race incredibly hard here. It doesn't matter at this stage. You just want to get to the front of this train.
And Steve Introne latching onto the back is properly a 6-car train. Matt Wolf dropping back with that attack in turns 3 and 4 has finally recovered from it, and it's now putting the pressure, literally putting pressure on the back bumper of Stuart Black, pushes him by, and they both are going to go through on Chris Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, you could see Stuart Black just made that really aggressive move, and somehow Matt Wolf sensed that was going to be the opportunity and just immediately juked out behind him, and down through the roller coaster we go. And look at the pivot. Oh, little flat slide there for the 40 of Stuart Black. We'll see if that hurt his momentum onto this front straight. And keep an eye here on Matt Wolf. If there was that little slide, Wolf might be able to try and do something here. And it's kind of interesting at this stage. Do you go outside? Do you stay inside? And Wolf decides I'm gonna graze his bumper and then pop to the outside.
Oh, and he's deep on the brakes.
Oh, look at Introne in the back too. Didn't get that done. Sorry, Tomo.
No, you're good. This reminds me of the strategy that Hromin, Zeckert off on the outside, gonna go for a bit of a ride. The dude should be okay eventually. Waiting for the front end to hook up.
Yeah.
This reminds me, the strategy between, that was Wolf and Black, reminds me exactly what Hromin and Introne did last year. They would break out, go side by side through turn 1, and then slot back in. This thing is still going strong, though, as Taylor slotting in front of Daugherty. Introne is now on the back of Daugherty in the blue Fit and the red Mini.
We'll see how that's going to play out here. Introne, obviously, great speed, winning last year in the wet conditions, but was fast here in qualifying. Oh, but in the 86 of Anthony Ruddy, the ALM Racing Progressive Auto Works Sonic has had an off. I couldn't spot really quickly where that was, so not sure if it's a danger zone or not.
Yeah, thought it was the outside of 3, and that's an awkward spin.
Yeah,
but,
it was.
I think what's going on in turn 3 is the entry is in the shade, and the track is colder on entry. Then all of a sudden you have it in the sun, and
That makes sense,
I think that
yeah.
shade is catching drivers off.
That's a great point. Look at Introne now up inside Chris Daugherty, and that's one spot picked off. And now it's a matter of, does he still get the exit speed, or does Daugherty get a little bit better roll and come out of there? And look like Daugherty really got a great exit there. We'll see how this plays out. And maybe those two right now will just say, well, let's see what we can do and get around on Chris Taylor if they get an opportunity to double that draft up as they climb this hill. And in these cars, that climb is pretty significant in terms of the toll it takes, in terms of speed here. And oh, look at this, Introne showing the nose. He's not close enough, but just trying to look at any opportunities here.
I'll never forget driving one of these at Laguna Seca and losing RPM up to the corkscrew. It was just a unique experience in these cars on track, no matter what track it is. But 2 laps remaining. We're actually working lap 14 already for the lead pack as Hromin resets the fast lap of the race from the front. And the risk here is if we do have one of those spins, we saw everybody's kind of gotten away with it so far, but that full course could come out if somebody has an issue. If David Daugherty is stalling or somebody has something that they're not showing yet, it could come up shorter than they think.
Yeah, and I would think we've seen incidents. Unfortunately, most of them have happened where cars were able to back themselves out of trouble or the like. But it's always risky to play that waiting game, because if there's a caution near the end of a race, it's problematic. But right now, Hromin looks like he just has some outright pace. He's driving away from Daugherty a little bit.
Yeah, and Daugherty kind of told me, like, I think this car can win on its own. Hromin also said, I think this car's just got pace. These two are kind of finally showing their cards, pulling away, setting their fastest laps of the race last time through. And it looks like Daugherty is still going to give a little bit of a push to Hromin. Seems to be waiting for his moment. And it's going to be coming soon because we only have a lap and a half left.
Absolutely. I mean, they've been able to gap now, Kelleher and Salyer, and it's turning into a mano-a-mano battle here unless one of these guys up front makes a little mistake. And look at that, Daugherty now is opening the angle through that corner. So I think you were exactly right. He just wasn't showing his cards.
Yeah, and we haven't seen a Ford Fiesta on the top steps since Sonoma. Whoa, big punt from the back. Chris Taylor on the back of Stuart Black into South Bend. That's not really a braking zone, so maybe got surprised, but that's going to bring Introne into the fray here.
Oh, and Chris Daugherty thinking about it. He dives to the inside. He's got position, but it's going to slow them both up coming out of the corner. Actually, it looked that Introne actually was able to, he had better roll speed through there, but Daugherty's car pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised at what just happened there. I was expecting Daugherty to have no drive off the corner, but Introne seemed to be potentially in the wrong gear. It's just the car didn't go anywhere on the exit of that corner. Should have been able to carry the momentum.
All right, here we go. Coming up to the white flag, and Kelleher and Salyer have been able to close back in just a little bit. And Daugherty comes out of this last turn to get that white flag with, again, a bit of a deficit after being all over the back of Hromin. But the white flag comes out, 1 lap to go in the run for the gold here in B-Spec. Daugherty pops to the outside, down into turn 1. Is he going to try and round him up, or is he going to tuck right back in? And he opts to tuck right back in behind Hromin here. Hromin running that long arc, knowing that corner, the radius increases as soon as you get past turn-in point, and just roll some nice speed through there.
I don't know what's going to play out on the back straight. We've seen and speculated Daugherty kind of stalling. We've seen Hromin just have a lot of pace in that Mini. I don't know who's got more. I don't know who feels more in control of this race. This is going to be very, very interesting in about 45 seconds down that back straightaway.
And interesting here, look at this battle as Matt Wolf has gone around on Stuart Black, and now Black trying to fight through. Has got position on the inside through turn 3. Should have position. Oh, and look at this again, Matt Wolf. Big dive to the apex and just wasn't quite there. You could see him dynamite the brakes, and how he actually got through that without losing some speed to Stuart Black is beyond me, because I thought he was just parking there.
Yeah, the two with a pretty long gear ratio. It's going to be okay off the snake there, and I have to say Matt Wolf has got to be one of the drivers in for the Sunoco Hard Charger, up from outside of the top 20 into this battle for 7th.
Yeah, no question there. Look at Kelleher, a little shallow turn in, but behind him it's actually Salyer that runs wide. And here we go, the snake, as they call it, trying to lose the draft. And Hromin got out of turn number 12, the Oak Tree turn, really, really well. And Doherty, we know he's got straight line speed, but does he have enough to make up that gap, Tomo?
Man, I tell you, Hromin did everything he could. That was the furthest up he's been. It still is going to evaporate by the time they get to the roller coaster. And Daugherty's going to knife to the outside.
And is he this time going to stay there? No, he can't. Hromin comes across, misses that apex a little bit, skates again. Daugherty right there, but Daugherty has to be all over the back of him to be able to do anything to the line. The top 4 cars covered by the blanket, the proverbial blanket here. Daugherty misses the apex, gets wide, and gets tapped by Kelleher. Hromin has got the gift and scoots away. Now Daugherty trying everything he can as Hromin trying to not give him anything to draft off of. Daugherty still coming after it, but it's Hromin with the gold. Daugherty with second, Kelleher with third, and Riley Salyer with fourth. And the top 4 across the line covered by 1.2 seconds. Here we go for that 6th spot behind Trent Kramer. Matt Wolff has done just enough. He's coming to the line. Is Wolff going to be able to hang on, as it is now Chris Taylor has gone through on black as well? And to the line, a fist pump for Matt Wolff, as you pointed out, coming from 19th on the grid to 6th. An absolutely superb run for Wolff and everybody behind him. That was just an incredibly entertaining battle, but Wolff, Taylor, Black, Introne, Chris Daugherty as well. And here comes the rest of the field. And another great run, too, by Joe Lendrum, as he, as I said, back in the order and moved up smartly as well. Pretty good recovery drive by Introne after being back as far as 22nd up to 9th. But the Sunoco Hard Charger Award is where you start, not where you end up after an incident of some sort. And so I think you're right. I think Wolff might be looking at that award. But everybody loving this drive, but nobody quite as much as this guy.
Yeah, props to Rich Hromin. Last year, I would argue, kind of took his teammate, was instrumental, if not required, to bring Steve Introne to the win last year, taking it for himself this year and just driving it absolutely to perfection. He did everything he needed to race that car to the front, and it was guaranteed right at the very end when you saw at the very low point in that compression at Oak Tree, the Fiesta just kind of flopped over right down to a flat push, and he got a little bit of help from behind. Conner Kelleher loosened him up, and Hromin drives off to the win.
Yeah, but he didn't put a wheel wrong in that race, as you said. Was patient, did what he had to do, and I'll tell you what, all the spectators here absolutely loving watching this race, and these guys deserved it for sure. David Daugherty, again, to give you something here, that's going to be his 18th runoff medal in total, so just a great drive. Trenton Kramer, he did that whole race by himself and continued to throw down pretty decent laps and had a nice margin, some 10 seconds back to that great battle with Wolff. But for this guy, Richard Hromin, absolutely superb run. The guy out of Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C. region, in that RP Performance and VCF Mini Coupe, as they call it, Mini Cooper Coupe. And there you see it, the unofficial results. And again, look at the margin for those top 4 officially at the line. A second after 15 laps of racing, Tomo.
So close, and that's what a draft will do. You see 14 seconds all the way back to Kramer, kind of stuck in no man's land. Matt Wolff racing up to the 6th position with that epic battle between Taylor, Black, Introne, and Daugherty.
Following the race, David Daugherty was penalized 2 positions for an incident on track, promoting Riley Salyer to the 3rd podium position and the bronze medal. Lots of great charges through the field here, to be sure. None, I think, better than Matt Wolff, so we'll see what happens here. But your gold medalist, Richard Hromin, comes down and parks in the Victory Circle interview staging area. And you can see one of the great SCCA members down there going to be draping that beautiful gold medal around this guy's neck. And he earned it. In these cars, picture perfect is how you drive the fastest race. And he was absolutely stellar. And Hayward, this guy deserved this one, and he nailed it.
Absolutely, guys. Richard climbing out of the car, a big grin on the face, the medal goes on, the hat. The guys in the booth were just talking about, they said, last year you were essential for Steve's championship. This year, you did it all by yourself.
No, this guy here, right here, he helped me out a lot. He helped me out a lot. Thank you, Darty. Yeah, when we lost Steve right away, I was like, oh man, this is just a one-man show, and I knew I was going to be in trouble. And but it was a fight. I knew the other two guys were going to be an issue, but we were able to keep them back.
Last lap of the race, coming out of Oak Tree. You nailed Oak Tree. You were perfect in Oak Tree. Coming to the top of a roller coaster, everybody in the media room took a big, deep breath because it looked like you'd gone too deep. Did you think you'd gone too deep? Did you know you could hold on to it?
No, I knew I knew I could hold on to it, but I had to go deep. That was the only weakness of this car here. He couldn't go as deep as I actually almost hit him in one when I got back in front of him, but he kind of dodged out of the way for that. So, yeah, that wasn't the way I normally race. Oh, man.
Way to win, man.
Thank you, buddy.
Good job.
Thank you. Hey, I got to thank a lot of people here. Get over here. Come here. My number one supporter right here. She keeps me pumped up all the time.
Couldn't happen to a better guy. To both of them. Congratulations.
I got to thank RP Performance, Performance Auto Works, all the friends back home. Big shout out to Alex Ratcliffe. He's the reason why I'm here. He's the guy that everyone can now go yell at. Ryan Moran, it's his engine in the car. I lost an engine just before we came down here. I mean, there's a lot of other. Brian Hornkel, who kind of got me involved in SCCA in the first place. I know he's watching in Arizona. And mom, dad, the kids at home, they got games. Pulled it off. I'm forgetting something. Mini USA, G-Lock brakes. Thank you. And Rob, my best friend from 5th grade, is here with his wife, my crew chief. He's in training, but I'm glad he's here. You know, it's great to have help. There's so many other, Chip Herr, Shane, they were on the radio with me. They kept me, going and telling me what was going on out there on the track.
Well, best I can tell, the only disadvantage to the coupe is you're going to have to be pretty choosy about who you take on this victory lap. You can't pack quite as many in, but good.
You're going to have to sit on their lap.
Get it as full as you can and enjoy this one.
Thank you. We're going to pack it up. Thank you very much.
Well, I'll tell you what. One, you could see the enthusiasm. Two, you could hear the emotion. This means a lot. And for, particularly a class that for a while was kind of on the wane, and it has come back with a vengeance. And what you saw there, too, with Daughtery coming up and these other guys, this is a community here in B-Spec. They are all loving what they're doing and loving doing it together. And, Hayward, you've got the rest of our podium standing by.
I sure do, David. Not a national championship this year, but like a couple of years ago, it seems like you're just as satisfied with the silver as you would have been with the gold.
I am. The stories that this event makes are amazing. And for Rich to win, I congratulate him, his team. Steve Introne for, we touched on the first lap. He went off. I apologize to him. Just was a racing deal. And I knew Rich was strong. I knew I was strong. I didn't think I could lead. I'm just a little weak through the short stuff. But the car was great. I want to thank the guys from G-Lock Brakes, Danny and Chris, right off the bat, because I forgot them before. So anyway, back to you.
Congratulations on the silver. You look very satisfied with this.
Thank you. I'm thrilled.
While we're here, we're going to go ahead and grab Conner, our third place finisher. Conner, it looked like you and Riley were trying to team up. We're trying to run these guys down, and it just wouldn't come back to you.
Yeah, we had a plan all week just to try and stay together. That's the only way we can hang with these cars. So didn't come through today. I wish Riley was going to be standing on the podium with me, but I'm glad he's right behind me. I can't thank him enough.
Talk just real quick about what this race was like. If you guys had that 4-car pack. Was this a fun race? Was this a frustrating race? Were you beating on the steering wheel all the time? How did it feel?
Towards the middle, it was pretty fun. Early on, it was really slick, just trying to keep the car under myself. But it was pretty fun through the middle, and the last couple laps were pretty scary.
Well, congratulations on the bronze here at the Runoffs.
Thank you.
And you heard it, pretty scary. And that's what we're talking about. These cars may not be the fastest in a straight line, but in many ways, they're some of the most challenging and fun to drive for that very reason, because you got to let it fly through the corners here. And we saw a lot of that here. Here's the original start, and you can see Daughtery right there gets up kind of underneath everybody. And I'm trying to see where that touch might have been. There you can see the number 12, last year's champion. Oh, right there. Daughtery just floated out a little bit and just nabbed him. And then a big moment here. And we think right there, it looks like maybe bunch of grass on the track, and there was some steam coming out the top.
Yeah, and the next lap through, things got even more exciting as a slight off for a car further back in the pack, but things were really, really tight. A big wiggle for Kelleher, and then this is where Clay ends up off and into the wall.
At a fair amount of speed, but was able to get out of the car. And on the restart, you can see David Daugherty right there. Thought about going around on Hromin and then said, that's not going to work. And if I do that, everybody's going to lose track position. But then one of our front runners, Schwartz, having it off and taking somebody else with him. And then this 4-car battle started up.
And Hromin just did it. He picked his risks and he picked his time to attack beautifully. This was that big push and wiggle from Daugherty that guaranteed the win for Hromin, and he's able to hold on to second, Kelleher third.
Yeah, Daugherty just a little wide, missed the apex down there, and when he had to check up, got tapped by Kelleher, and that's how that one unfolded. And once again for Richard Hromin, remember he started in 4th too. He did a great job to get to the front in only his second runoff start. He is a champion and has won the Run to the Gold here in B-Spec. So congratulations to Richard Hromin, Daugherty and Kelleher on the podium, but everybody in this B-Spec class. It is such fun racing, such fun to watch wherever you look in these large fields. It is a great show and always fun to be able to call it here for all of you watching at the SCCA Runoffs. For, again, Tom O'Gorman and for Hayward Wagner down in the pits, I'm Greg Creamer. Thanks for tuning in for the Run to the Gold in B-Spec here as we kick off the third and final of our Haggerty Race Days at the 60th running of the SCCA Runoffs.
My customer experience with Mazda has been absolutely fantastic.
I'm probably not the richest person out here, and they're extremely reasonably priced, and you can buy parts easily, and it's a class that fits both what I want from a racing standpoint and what I can afford.
We got into Mazdas largely just because it's a fantastic platform, and Mazda Motorsports has some of the best support for the grassroots racer in parts and technical advice and everything else, so they make it easy for us to run these cars.